What's up, guys? This is Kalo, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but welcome back to another episode of Community Kitchen, where we're cooking up the latest and greatest gaming news headlines. And who better to join me today than Aiden? Why don't you say what's up?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Game Sandwich, where you can always make sure that we have the greatest and delicatessens.
Always,
Uh,
always. We got the meats, but that's also trademark, so we don't have them, allegedly. But what we do have is a YouTube page, and you should like, comment, and subscribe here, and join our community Discord. The links to that is in the video description down below. Now, we released a video the other day talking about the next generation of consoles, whether we need it or not, and then that kind of stemmed into another conversation of, like, what got us here? Like, whoa, what happened to gaming? And allow us to be your gaming boomers of the day and kind of talk about, like, what happened to gaming, the industry that we all know and love, the industry that we're heavily ingrained in, and the industry that has changed almost, I want to say year to year, but nowadays it's like month to month, week to week. And it's getting scary to the point where it's like the thing we knew last week is probably irrelevant this week, and so on and so forth. Now, Aiden, in general, to kind of lay the baseline feeling vibes, how do we feel about gaming now? Like, are we happy? Are we in the middle? You know those little
I
octopus
feel
things that they flip inside out? Like, what's the thing that we do here?
I'm like an amalgamation of both, just like hitting that central point where I'm like Schrodinger's box, where you never know if I'm happy or if I'm sad until you open me up and find out.
Hey.
But I mean, like, I am so, like, I am just so done with everything gaming in the terms of like, just like, if the gaming industry were to implode tomorrow, I'd be like, I saw it coming.
Yeah.
This was bound to happen. Or, if it were to suddenly be like, oh my God, we're changing our ways, I'd be like, finally. I'd just be like, whatever about it. No matter what. I'd just be like, just that content dog face where I'm like, this is fine.
So, I want to take you back to an era that you brought up in that last video where that is our Harambe moment, where once that time period happened, everything that followed, like, we're in the bad timeline. Like, this is where we're at in gaming right now. We brought up the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 days, and I'd argue even before that, where it was like PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, the GameCube. That era of games was so golden and so well put together, where people understood to sell the box, you need the software to back it up. You need the exclusives. That was the thing of that era. I'm not saying that's the thing now, because clearly the market has changed, interest has changed, new competitors have come to light, and obviously you have to adapt to the times.
Yeah. You
But
know what? I can speak on that for 1 second
yeah,
here.
go ahead.
You
Go
said the
ahead.
GameCube era.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to say this. We are blinded by nostalgia on that one. Don't think for a second that it was like some golden era where it was like amazing and everything was great. I'm just saying, like, we are so blinded by nostalgia. We had Pokemon XD, we had Pokemon Coliseum. Like, they were great games, they were. But
Mm-hmm.
I recently started playing my GameCube again. I started sharing my old games with my wife and everything, and we started playing like Super Monkey Ball.
I like that game.
And yeah, love Super Monkey Ball. Loved Super Monkey Ball 2 and everything. There are some amazing games that we look back on fondly, but you have to remember there's some pretty bad games on
There
those
are some
consoles
bad
too.
games.
Like there were some really, really bad ones. Like the Lord of the Rings games weren't that great. Like we
Yeah.
had like people will look back on like Billy Hatcher, for instance, and be like, "Oh yeah, that game was amazing." That game wasn't that great. I'm
No.
sorry. Like I replayed it. It's not that great. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a thing about older games being better, but like you have to take it with a grain of salt on it and just realize that hey, there were some really bad games too that led to some great stuff down the line.
Well, that was the era in which, like, we got movie tie-in games that were just certifiably bad.
Yeah,
And, like, outside of, like, what, Spider-Man 2? Like, that
like the
game?
King Kong one.
Oh, no.
Uh,
Oh, no. Like,
Peter Jackson's King Kong game.
the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory games, like,
Yeah.
we did not need that. I'm sorry. But let's start there, where it was like, back then, we got games for good or for worse. We got them. and they were sold as is, where it was like there were no like patches, there were no updates. I remember like the first instance of me seeing DLC was the Halo 2, like you got Halo 2, but then you got the separate disc. I think I have it somewhere in this house where it's like the separate disc of the separate maps, and it's like a 2 disc set. And it's like that
Yeah.
was the first instance of like DLC. And then it started
I
to
mean, I still have Pokemon Coliseum and the bonus disc because it came
exactly.
with a bonus disc.
Exactly. So it's like games used to ship just out of the box. They work, they do the thing, and that's the refined experience you get. Keyword there being refined. As time went on, it got more acceptable to be like, hey, we're going to ship you this game, and then here's like the next year and a half of DLC or whatever, or patches, or the day one patch. And it's like, what's the point? What are we doing here?
You know what? You can feel free to cut this if you want. I don't care, but I just like want to
Hey,
go off on a tangent for a moment.
go
I
for
just
it. It's
realized
staying
something.
in. It's staying in.
I just realized something. Back in the GameCube era, Nintendo was already working on the Nintendo Switch technology. They were
Hey,
because they had the one cord that you connect into your GameCube that connects to the back of your Game Boy
yep.
that that puts your Game Boy on the TV. They were already working on the technology for the Switch 2 back then.
I, and I also feel like that's what made that generation great, because I have my GameCube with that little attachment that you put on the bottom of the console and you put your Game Boy Advance games in.
Yeah.
It's like nowadays you're not going to see innovation or willingness to create like that, because now, like, what do we talk about all the time in our videos almost every other week, where it's like companies are afraid to take the risk. They're afraid to do the thing that's outside of the norm, or what makes them money, or whatever, to just do it. Like, shout out to Nike, just do it. But like
Yeah.
that love and that passion has gone away just to meet the red line or make it go up. Remember that lovely quote, the line must go up. And that's what's killing gaming right now.
No, it really is. And like we talked about like the whole like next console generation and everything too. And how they're just gonna give it to us even though like they have no real plans and everything. And like everything at least back then felt like there was a purpose.
Yep.
It felt like they were preparing for something or that there was a purpose behind it all. And so like when you look back on it and you think about it and everything, like it's like okay, well, yeah, I just had that connection of like, oh yeah, they were kind of working on the Nintendo Switch, like the Nintendo Switch technology on the GameCube kind of deal, where it's like, oh yeah, like how do you like get something from, like how do you connect something to make it appear on a big screen? And that was awesome. That was great. And then like I remember you also had like that put a disc in the console too
Yeah.
to show that you were playing a Game Boy game or whatever. But anyway, but nowadays, you don't have anything like that. You have people experimenting with, like, oh, yeah, do we need a disk drive actually? Do we not? And yet they're taking off the disk drive and then just, like, still selling the console for, like, the same amount of money to you because that makes sense. And I don't know, it's just none of it ever feels purposeful here. You
Yeah.
don't have, like, weird things where it's like with the GameCube, we had the era of tiny TV that you connect on top of your GameCube, and then you
So
go
cool.
somewhere and you have a little GameCube TV, and you're like, "Yay! I can be in the car and play a game."
Yeah.
Like, granted, nowadays we have like an actual handheld console, but like, you know, none of that, like, all of that felt purposeful, and that like eventually was leading to something.
Yeah.
You know, the technology of the Switch 2 now doesn't feel like it's leading to something other than it is another Switch. Like, oh, what are you going to do next? The Switch 3 and it's going to have the same capabilities. It's just going to be a bigger but better Switch 2.
Yeah, it's that word of innovation. And innovation nowadays, like we said it before, that line of what is new to us and worthwhile to a consumer, it's not there because technology is just so good right now. It's like, all right, if you want to release like the next big mind-blowing piece of tech in gaming, odds are that's coming at a very hefty premium price tag that's going to box out the general public. I mean, we're talking about that right now with the ROG Xbox
Yeah.
Ally, where it's like,
You know what? A good example of it is VR.
yeah,
It's like VR is amazing technology, don't get me wrong, and I love VR. I had a VR headset for a while. Like I had the HTC Vibe or
mm-hmm.
Vive, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like I used to, my brother-in-law and I, we used to, we had a whole setup in our old house where like the entire room was just empty,
Yeah,
and we had like the sensors up on the walls and stuff, and we were like, cool, we can just walk around basically in this entire room. And we used to like build mini golf courses and stuff on it, and then just play mini golf on the VR system. It was great. It was a fun time. But here's the thing though, the technology is progressing with that, but like you said, nobody can get it. It's way out of everyone's price range. I mean, if you want to like do amazing things in VR, you have to go out of your way to like get like all this like cool VR tech, like, oh, jackets that let you feel like you're getting hit, or like the omnidirectional treadmills or whatever, where you can actually like walk around in VR and not have to worry about walking into a wall or worry about barriers and everything.
mm-hmm.
That stuff, that would be amazing for everyone to have. Like, I want to feel like I'm in Ready Player One. I
Yeah.
want to, because that would be amazing. But VR is just like so out of everyone's price range. And so, like, it's like they give up on it and they don't work on it that much because nobody's really feeding into it. And they can't feed into it because it's so expensive.
And that's the other thing. Like, all right, let's just say we live in a perfect world where, like, we all can afford VR headsets and we all can, like, get this shiny new tech. The support there hasn't existed, really. I mean, I look at the PSVR 2, where at the start they were like, yeah, we're going to drop all these games and we're going to continue to support this platform. I look at that platform now. What's going on there? Like, is there anything? Is there a title worth, like, in that conversation of one of the best games of the year on that device? And I get that's a harsh mark to put on a device like that, where it's so niche and whatever. But if you're gonna release the product, you damn sure better make sure there's stuff there that incentivize people to go out and get it. And it's like, I can name 3 titles: Horizon Call of the Mountain, Half-Life Alyx, not an exclusive to PlayStation platforms, and then like what? Like, I couldn't even name 3. I couldn't even name 3. And like, that sucks, because it's like, there could be something cool there. There could be integration with your main console. But it's not. Like, and that's another damning mark on gaming in general, where it's like, as soon as they see that, like, hey, it's not selling as much, kill it. Take it out back behind the shed. We don't need it no more. It's losing us money. And it's like, but you could innovate and do something and try. Like, that's another option. How about that?
I mean, like, I love that VR is going the way that it is, but it's also at the same time, like, nobody's going to be using it because it's not extremely accessible.
No.
And, it's just like the next console generation. If you don't have anything that, like, that's worthwhile on it, no one's going to want it.
No.
They're going to get it just because, like, people have this fear of missing out. They have FOMO so much that they're like, oh man, I feel like I have to get it. It's like the Switch 2. Part of the reason why I feel like it sold as well as it did is because people had FOMO that they'd be missing out about, like, on new Switch games or whatever, or they'd be missing out on, like, oh, the next big thing that everyone's going to be loving and all that, when they really don't need it. And so far, the Switch 2 has just been like a complete disaster, and I don't think it's a great console personally.
Yeah. And
But to each their own. And like that's going to be the same thing with the PS6, where it's like you release the PS6. Let's say it's 2027 or 2028. If there's not a good lineup of games with it, no one, like, people will still get it, but
yeah.
they're going to regret that they got it.
Mm-hmm. And then you bring up the Switch saying it's a disaster. Yeah, it's a disaster, but it's the best-selling console for Nintendo of all time, or I think it's the best in general. So it's like, what's the metric do we measure there? Like, how do we figure that out? And again, like you said, I do think it's FOMO. I also want to talk, because like now that we're talking about games, I think where we went wrong there is not to blame the game of Fortnite, but like companies seen that Fortnite did the battle royale. They seen that, hey, free to play, season pass, battle pass, whatever, in-game credits. This is how you monetize the game. Like you send it out up front and then monetization afterwards. I think every company trying to chase that cash cow and every company trying to be the next thing without any sort of real inspiration or innovation, that's damning. I mean, I think examples like Apex Legends, whenever that first released, everyone was like, wow, this is so great. Like, all they gotta do to like stick around is to give content. They didn't do that straight out of the gate, and then they started to do it, and then Apex grew. But nowadays, what are we doing with Apex? Nowadays, what's happening with Fall Guys? What's happening with, like Rocket League came about, and that still has a player base. But again, it's the matter of how do you stay afloat? How do you do this? We see games every single time come out to release and die, like within the first week or two or within the first month. And it's like, how many games nowadays are released and thrive versus die, like dead on arrival?
Yeah.
It's heavily in that favor.
Part of it, so like I do blame Fortnite on some of it, and I wrote an article about that, interestingly enough, that was like, oh, Fortnite's the reason why Call of Duty went to shit, basically.
Which it is.
And a lot of people were talking about that at the time too. But in general, like I do blame Fortnite for some of it because it showed how much you could commodify a game and like how much you could commercialize everything and just like take advantage of every little thing to make a profit. And Fortnite's a rare case. Like I want game developers to realize Fortnite is such a rare case because believe it or not, people who play video games have a little bit of free will. I mean, we're not all idiots. But I mean, there's a good number that are, but we're not all idiots. But and so what I'm getting at though is that like Fortnite showed how much you could commercialize everything and how much of a profit you could get off of all of it. And every single company saw like this golden opportunity and they were like, "Oh, we need to follow suit. That's where everything's going." And like that's kind of where things went wrong is because they went, man, now that there's a really big success in one live service game, that means all live service games will be successful, And that's not the case. You have to have like an actual good game
Yeah.
for it to be successful. I mean, you can't just like make anything and be like, "Oh, yep, it'll be successful as long as we keep updating it after the fact." And I mean, we've seen games like XDefiant, for instance. It failed. They gave it not even a year. They gave it like 11 months or something before it failed. And part of the reason why it failed is because people were too afraid to take risks with it. They released a game that was like very generic at the start. People didn't thought it was fun, but they didn't love it. The player numbers like crashed after a few months. And the updates did nothing but like just add more of what was already there. And then finally, when they went out of their way to release all the remaining content that was going to be added later on, after the sunsetting started, it went, oh man, we really love this. Where was this? Why didn't we get this at launch? This was amazing. And like the numbers shot up.
Yep.
Not like to anything amazing, but like they shot up because people saw like a Rayman map and they were like, this is unique.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't like anything that we've played.
Yeah.
And so it's like everyone wants to chase that high of what one company did, and then they make their own generic version of it, and it doesn't have any personality. And they think that, oh man, this is going to do great when it's not. Or they think, or like in the case of PlayStation, for instance, they canned a bunch of their live service games because they went, oh, Horizon did really well. That means it'll automatically do well as a live service game.
Yeah.
Last of Us did really good. That means it should be a live service game. Not everything needs to be live service.
Mm-hmm.
Some things can just be a good story and people love it, and then that's it.
Yeah. Like, it is... it is just that weird, like, again, this is why I'm so mad at them, where they're like, oh, we're just gonna, because the IP of Horizon and The Last of Us is so strong, like you said, let's just attach that to a very bad live service thing and hope and pray it works. I mean, at one point they wanted 12 of these games to come out, and practically all of them have been canceled or they're never gonna see the light of day. And
Yeah.
for a company like PlayStation to do that, again, that's why I'm so hard on them, where it's like, you can release a Foam Stars or something like that, or The Last of Us Factions. I'm fine with that. But in case those games fail, you have a ton of other IP to fall back on to be like, hey, this is going to fill that gap month, or let's just say Foam Star releases in September, October the next Sly Cooper comes out. At least we have something to look forward to. At least there's something there to string us along. And that, again, to kind of corral it back to what happened to gaming, again, it's just that monkey see, monkey do, and that does not work. Like, it just doesn't. And you can say, like, we're going to release the next Fortnite, we're going to release the next whatever. Like, it's not always a guarantee, because a thing we always bring up, people are set in their ways. They have their game they want to play at the end of the day after a long day of work. And again, you talk about the risk versus reward thing for consumers, where it's like, do I want to spend $70 on an unknown? Or do I want to go to this game that I know and I've been playing for a few years by now, and I know what I'm going to get out of it, to be like, hey, I'm going to enjoy my 2 hours of gaming tonight, versus like, I'm going to have questions as to why I spent a premium on this game that probably doesn't even work. So that is the state of gaming we're in right now.
And you know what? Okay, so I can say this as someone who gets early access to like a fair number of games. Like, there are so many of them where I would openly admit that I, like, with getting the capability to play it before everyone else and getting it for free even.
Yeah.
And all that. Like, there are so many times where I'd get these games and I would just immediately be like, yeah, I wouldn't have paid for this. I wouldn't have.
There you go.
Like, if I knew at launch everything I knew about playing it prior or whatever, I would not have gotten it. It's like, okay, so like the game Forspoken, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, everybody really hated that game. Like, well, a lot of people like really hated that game and trashed on it for like a lot of reasons that, like, honestly, I don't agree with, but like, you know, I'm a weird case. But I enjoyed it. But at the time when I played it early and I was doing the review for it, I genuinely really enjoyed it, but I noticed a lot of very big things about it that were like heavy flaws.
Yes.
So, for instance, like the world. The world annoys the hell out of me in that game because I think that it's poorly crafted and it's so monotone that you don't get any enjoyment out of running across it. Like, the game just feels like a sandbox and you are just like seeing little dunes that were created by the wind. You don't see anything magical. And like, if that game released for what? I think it was $60 or maybe $70 at the time. I would not have bought that game. If I knew everything that I knew from just playing it prior, like for that whole, like, because I beat the game prior to release and everything, obviously, because I reviewed it. But if I had all that knowledge but never got it early, I would have been like, I am not buying this game. I would rather just play a game that I know that I have that I enjoy, because that game is just not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many games like that. And like, I want people to realize, like, there's a, like, and I want companies to realize this too. Like, you are spending all this money making these games. You're spending millions upon millions of dollars making these games. And you know to some degree that they are that bad.
Yeah.
But you're still trying to sell them off like there's something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing. Back in the day, they could back it up.
Yep.
they could back it up with a lot of games. Like Army of Two, you could back that up as being a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the old Mario games, you could back those up.
Mm-hmm.
You could back up like a lot of third-party games too, and you could back up a lot of just like video game like, well, not video game, but blah, games that were made based off of like TV shows, like Fairly Odd Parents, for instance. I love those games.
Breaking the rules, man.
Yeah, exactly. You could back those up, but nowadays, you literally cannot back up what you say about a game anymore.
And that is the funniest part about it, where what we just talked about negates everything we talked about prior, where it's like, all right, we started with games used to ship as is. They shipped as is, and then like it's because they were innovative and they were giving consumers new things to play and new things to try. Then we went into the era of, okay, how do we monetize this further and, you know, do whatever. Then we get into the era of, okay, we've seen Fortnite works, let's try to copy, or we see insert whatever game name works, let's try to make our own. And now we're at the era of companies are just releasing the same game over and over and over again because that is what sells and that's what works. And suddenly you see how vicious gaming is as far as the cycle where it goes, where it's like, no duh, we're getting the same Madden every year. No duh, we're getting the same Call of Duty every year. It's because companies are now scared to take the risk, and now they're just going to give us what works. And it's just a vicious, damning cycle where it's like, when will that bubble burst? And as of right now, I don't see when that'll burst. I don't know what is the straw that breaks the camel's back. Is it Fortnite tanking? I don't know, because I don't see that game tanking anytime soon. Like, is it Xbox pulling out of gaming? I don't know, because they're just self-inflicted wounds over there. So again, it's just like, gaming is this vicious cycle. That's what that is. It's just, it's gonna do it. It's gonna go.
And I'm seeing, like, and I'm also seeing still, like, the continuation of, because, like, I feel like people, like, ultimately will end up saying something to us like, oh man, what do you mean they're afraid to take risks? There are new games coming out all the time. There's new IPs being created constantly, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, think about Ghost of Tsushima. Think about Ghost of Yotei. Okay, think about, like, what you call it? Like, I don't know. I can't, like, Interstellar or whatever is, like, one, or Intergalactic or
The
whatever.
Heretic Prophet, yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, think about that stuff. Or, like, think about, like, you know, the people who made, like, Senua's Saga and all that. You know what? Fine and dandy. There are a few people who do take risks, like Expedition 33, for instance.
Great.
That, like, they took a risk in making that game, and it turned out great. Now, I also will point out, too, that how many of these games come out that have similar mechanics to other games that you're used to?
Yeah, Final Fantasy.
That is what I mean when I say people aren't taking risks in it. So, like, with Final Fantasy VII Remake, they took a risk
Game
with
of
that.
the year, didn't that? That one
They
game
took a risk. And the reason why I say that took a risk is because it took what everybody knew and it just, like, completely turned it on its head. They changed the story of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they added so many story beats to it. They changed the gameplay. They did a lot of stuff to it that's way different from the original. But then you take games like, man, it's so hard. Like, Borderlands 4. Okay, I'm going to just go straight to Borderlands 4. Do you really think that they took risks with that?
Not at all. It's just more Borderlands.
They didn't take any risks. They copied exactly what they did in the past. And I would argue that they took even less of a risk on anything because they literally copied what Ubisoft does for maps. There you go. Like, Ubisoft created a map design and Gearbox copied it. They went, here you go. Instead of towers, you have silos. Instead of this collectible, you have that collectible. You know? Do you really think that, like, Breath of the Wild was that innovative of a Zelda game? No, it wasn't. It was Ubisoft creating Zelda. That's all it was. You get a lot of games that literally share mechanics with other games because nobody wants to take the risk because they want to go, oh man, we know this mechanic works. We know people like it. We're just going to take it.
And for those people saying, like, for the Claire Obscures of the world, for the Astrobots, to me, comparatively speaking, those are all just drops in the larger gaming bucket where it's like, if you pull up Circana or whatever, the first, like, 3 or 4 games that are selling the most are known, established, big brands. They are the Marios. They are the Zeldas. They are the God of Wars. They are the Last of Us. Then what follows? It's like, you know what you're getting. Those are the games that are constantly going to be in the top of the end conversation. And that is also why whenever a game like Clair Obscur, whenever Astrobot releases, it's such a big deal because they are such a breath of fresh air in the world of gaming that we hardly ever get nowadays. And it's like,
and, they were breaths of fresh air for different reasons.
exactly.
Clair Obscur because it was unique, but then Astrobot because it fed into nostalgia and was literally nothing but like Little Big Planet, but in 3D.
And it's a 3D platformer where people nowadays are saying we don't need those because they don't sell. But it did.
Yeah.
And it's like those gives and takes, ebbs and flows. This is why gaming's in the state that it is. This is why whenever Game of the Year comes around, there's almost a guaranteed remake to be in that conversation. Because again, what do we have? You can say, looking forward, the Wolverine's coming out from Insomniac. What's Insomniac doing with the Spider-Man franchise? Keywords there being, that is the Wolverine, which is a comic that came out ages ago. A Marvel IP that is very established. Same thing with Spider-Man.
And it quite literally takes mechanics from previous games because it looks like it's exactly like the Deadpool game was, except with Wolverine. I refuse to think it's anything unique.
Regardless, like, I look at Jedi Survivor, Star Wars brand, very established. Like, I'm looking at these things and it's like, these games are successful because it is backed by a big thing. If you removed the whole, like, Star Wars of it all, if you removed the Marvel of it all and just released a superhero game, like, we're looking back to days like Prototype or Infamous. Like, those are the last, like, things I remember being superhero or anti-hero games that were big. And, like, nowadays, I can't even certifiably say we'll get a game like that nowadays because they know that those games work. Like, Spider-Man will sell. Spider-Man 3 is a definite. I can almost guarantee you Wolverine 2 has been greenlit already. Like, that's just because we know it's going to sell like crazy and it's going to work. All I'm saying for gaming nowadays, we got here because it is just so damn hard to make a game and make a game that's actually good and make a game that lasts well beyond its first month of release. That has happened because the industry kind of forced itself into this corner where it's like, we gotta monetize, we gotta have this, we gotta have that, we gotta have multiplayer, gotta have constantly online, we gotta ship, and the game doesn't look good at the start like a Cyberpunk or like whatever. Like, it's gonna suck at the beginning, but a few patches will fix that up. Those are the things that got us here. And that is why gaming sucks. And that is why we are in such a bad spot. And at that point, you can't, like, comment down below saying, gaming's great, gaming's amazing right now, we're getting so many things. I would find it hard to find a bright spot nowadays, just personally. Like, I really can't. Like, there's nothing worth saying, like, hey, but at least there's that. Like, no, like, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, the at least there's this thing is going to be like people saying, at least there's Destiny 2, at least there's like Black Ops, at least there's Battlefield. You know what? Just because you get one good thing and like just because like Battlefield 6 comes along and it's one good shooter game in the vast multiverse of shooter games doesn't mean that it's actually worthwhile to have. Like, that doesn't mean that like gaming in general is saved suddenly, you know? It's not like the holy savior of the gaming industry.
And that's the thing. We're talking about Battlefield 6 right now, October of 2025. Are we still going to be talking about it next year at this time? As much as we are right now?
Probably not.
And there we go. Like, that is the thing that makes it so difficult. Whenever, nowadays, you can go online and type on YouTube, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time playthrough. And somebody must have uploaded a video playing that game over again. You can go Dark Souls or whatever. Somebody's playing that game because they love it and it's like still relevant.
Yeah. There's a reason why we still talk about Bloodborne even though it was put on the PS4.
There we go. And that is That is why we're here. That is why gaming is in the shitter, and it's just, we gotta roll with it. Because, again, as much as we've been negative this video, I love gaming. I'm very thankful. It's opened many doors for me. But looking at the industry and being on the inside, looking at the numbers and looking at this, I just can't sit here and say that everything is fine and dandy in gaming when it's completely not.
It isn't. And it's sad to say. And now I'm just going to leave and go back to my little GameCube and be happy.
Exactly. Let's just go play our GameCubes. That's it. I got mine right down there. It's fine. It's gonna hook up just fine.
Kev, come on over. We'll play some Pokemon Coliseum.
Let's have a LAN party. What do the kids know about LAN parties nowadays? I don't know. But we're gonna pass it off to you guys right now. What do you think about the state of gaming? Is there any other points that we missed? I'm sure there is. We glossed over a lot of topics, but like, is there anything minute you want to talk about? Let us know in the comments down below or join our Discord because we'll have a conversation there. But as for this episode of Community Kitchen, I've been Kalo, joined by Aiden, and we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.